Hello everyone and welcome back to the next video, taking part of my workshop experience here. Today we're gonna tackle the Hellhounds, and I have already cheated a bit with base coating the fur or skin, and what I've used so far is the Dryad bark, and this is gonna be the base for the shifting skin tones. And from the pictures I've seen, the skin mostly is consisting of greens and browns. So I'm gonna be starting with Mournfang Brown and dot it all across the skin to have the brown one brighter color to shift into it with the shade later on before I add the greens. And yeah, let's continue work. So what I'm going to do here is take some Mournfang Brown and add some water. I don't want it to be too strong. This is gonna be transparent and spotty on the skin to make the colors more interesting and let them sink into each other. So I'm gonna wipe off a lot of the paint and start dotting around. And this might seem like it's very patchy to start with, but the washes are probably gonna make the work for us and have it look much more interesting and help make the transitions more subtle. Just making sure not to miss any patches. To have the coating of this lighter brown as even as possible and slightly more concentrated to the top of the model. You're gonna see later on how it's gonna blend in with the greens, but right now I'm just gonna apply this pattern everywhere. The main reason I'm doing this is just not to have a flat color. I don't like flat colors. Flat colors on a miniature makes them not that realistically looking. If you can add depth by adding color shifts and washes to it, they stand out much more and it becomes more realistic. That's my opinion anyways. So there we have it. That's the first step towards making the skin look alive and cool. Okay, onwards to the next step. The brown color shifting here is starting to get somewhere, but it's still not that very interesting to look at. So the next step will be applying some green tones to mimic the hounds from the movies and to make them more interesting to look at. So the color I've chosen is Castellan green, and I am really liking this color, this green color for this job, and I'm gonna apply it just the same way as we did the browns or the Mournfang Brown earlier, in this sort of dotted pattern. So let's get to it. Some water to thin it down. Wipe off the most of it. And sticking with the upper part of the body, I'm just gonna be applying it. A little bit down the legs, but not all the way down. And once again focusing on the upper parts, top, on the back, between the spines. I'd say I'm going about halfway down the legs, more or less. And you still want to be careful not to apply too heavy a layer of this, because the brown is supposed to be shining through a little bit to give this shifting color effect, and not having the flat greens take over everything. That's not the plan here. It's just to have one more color into the mix, to help it have depth, and once again make it look more realistic. Okay, I'm just gonna be applying a little bit more around the mouth to have him, to have the head consistent with the pattern. A bit more on the back. Slowly getting there, almost done here. Oops, that might be a bit strong. It's easy to forgetting wiping off the most paint when you're just going back and forth like this. Hopefully it won't be too much big of a problem. Yeah, I think that does it. That should do it pretty well. Yeah. Completing the rest of the bunch. Next up is going to be painting the mouths with Bugmans Glow. Try to be as neat as possible. Not getting any paint out on the brown green skin. The teeth doesn't matter because they aren't painted yet anyway, so. I always find myself, I'm holding my breath when I do this tiny things. The brain must be starting to get some damage because of the lack of oxygen. I find myself gasping after a while, holding my breath for too long. Yep. That's one done. Finishing up the rest. I decided now that I want one brighter green on the very top of the Hellhound, just to make it stand out more when the washes come. I like the miniatures dark, but I think that just adding this little layer at the top should be perfect to make it stand out a bit more and just not look like it's dirty. So slightly brighter tone with Loren forest than Castellan green. I guess if you want to go crazy and really make it shine, you could go like Warpstone Glow or something similar to make it more brighter. But I like the dark and gritty stuff, so I'm gonna keep it slightly muted but still get some interesting tones. And it looks like Loren Forest is perfect for me to achieve this. Gotta be careful here not to be too greedy about this. Only the raised back areas. And maybe some on the head. Down the nose. this was probably what was lacking from my initial plan. No, it's gonna be really nice. I am now gonna be applying the Carroburgh Crimson shade to the mouths to have them more fleshy and bloody looking. And I am probably gonna finish the tongue after the shade has been drying and apply Bugmans Glow once again to make just the tongue stand out again from the shade. I am now going to be covering most of the miniature except the mouth and the spikes with Agrax Earthshade, and try to tie the greens and the browns together and see how the transition becomes. I'm hoping that the last minute adding of the Loren forest is gonna make the back area pop a bit more and not just disappear in the dark colors. So let's get on with it. Okay, yeah. It's sort of what I'm going for, I guess. Yeah, looks pretty good. Might have been a better choice to go with green wash on the top. But at least the browns really help the crevices to shine out the shadows. It might be a bit too much of a contrast between the brown wash and the green on the top. We'll have to see when it dries. It actually just might help to give him a dirty look from poking in the dirt in the forest. So I might actually keep this wash as the final version. Yeah, I think so. It's really showing the muscles more anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing every one with a Agrax Earthshade wash. The next step would be painting all the horns and teeth with a base coat of Ushabti Bone. And this is a fairly straightforward and easy step. Just try to be as neat as possible. And yeah, I'm not gonna be filming this entire section because it's kind of self-explanatory. Looks like I'm gonna be needing at least 2 coats of this before it settles on the primer. This is gonna be straightforward enough, so I'm gonna skip on to finish the bunch with the bones. So what we've done so far is to paint the base black and all the bone and teeth areas with 2 coats of Ushabti Bone. And next up we're gonna apply Agrax Earthshade to darken the bone areas. In fact, I think I'm gonna be adding some water to the shade, not to make it too strong. The idea is that the darkest transition should be near the skin of the bones, and it's gonna be brighter and brighter the further up the bones you go. Yeah, that's the first application, and I'm gonna let this dry and have a second application at the lower parts, and maybe up to a third, just to get the joints with the skin to be very dark and help the transition into the skin look a little more natural. And yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead and finish the guys doing exactly this now. And that's it. This is how they turned out. All that's left to do is to get the bases up to speed with the environment I'm gonna play in, with some grass and some tufts, and yeah, most of it is going to be technical paints like the Stirland, Battlemire, and Lustian Undergrowth, with some shading. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial or walkthrough of making the Hellhounds.